Two for Commissioner Christopher's and Jones.
Let's we'll fill some copy then.
Yes, absolutely. But please make sure you close the door so we can be ready for the pledge when you come back.
They're supposed to pick it up and have it outside. They said I sent a text yesterday.
It's Judy go first.
I don't know who's first. John's got
I'll go first.
it's the sheriff's office first agenda.
Maybe public way. Judy would become Russell,
Yes, we could.
but we won't. I don't want
You might want to see that.
Judy be seen.
Entertainment. That's a great idea. Right. Nicole, are we ready? All right. We will call the session to orders and the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
And I would remind everybody that silence your cell phones if you have an outage. All right, we are in a budget work session and I'll turn it over to Michael. Yes, go.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Thanks, members and staff for the continued effort. Just a reminder of where we're at from a calendar standpoint. Of course, we had Public Works advanced to July 21st, so we got that one out of the way. And now on to August 4th, the Sheriff's Office and IT Department for some discussions and budget planning going into next year. I'd sent you a few items yesterday for your viewing pleasure, just to kind of frame where we're at presently. And at this stage, this is not a daily moving target, but it's close. So it kind of froze where everything is at as of the last couple of days, just for the sake of conversation. But the entirety of the program that you saw in that 25 to 2027 roll up accounts for a 3.68% levy increase over 2026's program. So you can obviously see how that arrives there, just kind of going through department by department and fund by fund, and much of which we will discuss. Now, does it have to stay at that exact number? No. There are different ways that we can arrive at different numbers. This is a familiar process to all of you at this point. Of course, so I'll explain all of that function, but inevitably we spend a little bit more time on a handful of departments than we do others. Some are much more cookie cutter than most. So a couple of the more complex and complicated ones to chat through this morning. I'll just kind of ask holistically or high level questions before we dive into any of the department specific information today. Anything you saw or confusion with any of the reporting mechanisms, etc. Okay.
Michael, I have a question on the one that you sent over. I'm trying to find the sheriff's salary section of that.
Okay.
To
Pull that up here, sort of.
the 201. Oh, yeah, I see it's short worded. Never mind. I found it. It's here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not spelled out.
And if it's easier for individual departments to pull them up separately, so that's what you're looking at. So yeah, some shortened or abbreviated descriptions on there too. I have to improve it on. Anything to talk about before we turn it over to the sheriff?
It might be helpful if in the next year, current year budget analysis that you sent us, if you could help orient us to the page number where most of the sheriff's stuff is. Before we start this discussion, it's in.
Page 22.
22.
Thank you. I know I saw it when I reviewed it, but I need somebody here. Thank you.
We'll have the heading of 201 and sheriff. 201 being the object code in the general fund. So sorting half theory of that report itself, it is sorted first by fund. So everything in the first 60-ish% of the report will be general fund. So it'll start with 01 and then 01 being general fund, and then everything that is under the general fund, 201 being the object code for the sheriff. So you'll see 01, 201, and then some unique codes. So the 201, 201 just being the general sheriff, which is for the vast majority of that activity is happening. You recall a couple of years ago, sought to consolidate some of the subsidiary accounts just to make them a little bit more centralized and good. As you scroll down, just for future knowledge and information, you'll see breakouts, titles for each individual department, and always that title of general. Get to the end of the general fund, past public health is what we're looking at here. You'll see a grand total summation for just the general fund with the same comparable analysis, the 25 is the 26 and the 27 projected. So you can see the general fund is the majority of where our stuff happens from a county program standpoint and a fiscal standpoint. So that's often where we spend most of our time. Public Works is the largest contributor that colors outside of the general fund, which we talked about a couple of weeks ago as well. Yeah, page 22, if you're curious, and I think Sheriff, we can turn it over to you. This one.
On the sheriff's office salary, wages, overtime. Do holiday pay come out of that? So under that part, we don't have a separate one for holidays and things. No.
Good morning.
Mhm.
Going to talk about my 2027 budget request here. For this year, it's fairly short and sweet. It's more of an operational needs. It's just the cost of doing business. As of the end of June, 6 months into the year, I was actually at the 52% of our budget for 2026. So we're right on target for our this year's budget. Moving into the 2027 is the numbers are just for basic operational needs. Little increases. One request that I do have for 2027 is going to vehicle purchase. It's to, and I had sent to you, Michael's got the information up on the screen, but also last night I sent some information out with a quote I had received to replace a vehicle, and that would be to replace a 2008 Ford Expedition that's at the end of its life, and it's in needs of repair and to move on. And so the request is to purchase a 2027 F-150 police vehicle to replace that Expedition. And that would be utilized to pull our command trailer, our enclosed trailer, our snowmobile trailer, our boats, work with emergency management, all that. That would be the need for that. And they're very common in the law enforcement, police world, patrol world. The Commissioner Milburn asked a question, something on the overtime. I just want to know that, we have been this past year, working last year and this year, we're working with TZD, towards zero death grant or, activity that we've enhanced to go out and do proactive patrol, and there has been overtime for that. In addition with that, though, there is state grants that are available to, reimburse the extra overtime expense. So it's kind of a wash, but it's an increased safety event that's happening multiple times throughout Waseca County. Other than that, I can say I'm happy to say that we've been fully staffed. We're not looking at hiring anyone currently. Moving into 2027, there will be some expected retirements that we'll be looking at replacing individuals from the patrol division and hiring them. So I'm open for questions.
Yes. I've got a list of them, Jay, so. But the first one, the one you kind of answered, are you planning that? Your two retirements that are possibly coming up in 2027, there are going to be some key positions in the sheriff's office. Do you have a plan as to how that's going to take over, especially one of them, which is going to be probably a paper service area? And some quick training and stuff that goes along.
Yeah, we actually are having a plan for that, and so that's a good question. And we have already sent out an email to the patrol division to see who's interested. And that we had a couple individuals that are interested, and we're going to be in the process of interviewing those candidates to see who's the best fit for that. And then we will transition them from now until our current civil process person retires, and to give them some experience, opportunities to go to training, to basic and advanced civil process training. And so that is currently in the works as we speak.
Yes.
A few months back, we discussed at committee about a task force member. Have you found somebody to take on the task force position that you were looking for?
We did. We also sent out an email to all of the sheriff's office to see who would be the best fit to, they were short on a number of positions. But one of the positions that we felt that Waseca County could offer was a person to slide into a negotiator spot with the task force. So we sent it out to the entire department. So anyone from the patrol division, dispatch, and jail were open to apply. We did have some interest. We went through an interview process. And we did select one of our dispatchers, Amanda Miller, to be on the negotiator team.
Okay. Are you looking for some more operational individuals on the task force through the sheriff's office to join the task force?
Yes. They're always, their task force is looking for more. In the past, we've had more staff members on. But with our current changes, pending retirements and scheduling, at this point, it was best to, their need was a negotiator. And so that's what we were able to provide. And so moving forward, the next spot potentially could be another operational person for the task force.
I talked to Andrew Hagan on that. It's really hoping that maybe the sheriff's office could get another operational person in there for it, as far as the body.
That, yes, that is correct. There's a strong need for that. And we just haven't started that process. And so that's on the to-do list.
Have you made any progress with the job descriptions and planning on switching over when the new facility comes?
We have not done any job descriptions. There's some discussion that's been taking place, but nothing official has taken place. But that is, I don't want to say daily, but it's a weekly conversation, how best where people will fit in and how they'll fit in when those transitions will happen within the jail justice center project of who's going to fit in, who's going to take the current role of civil process, who's going to be bailiff, just how people are going to slide around to different spots. So it's a conversation where we've had within our office, not specifically yet with HR.
Do you have other deputies or staff getting drone certified?
Yes, so Sergeant Josh Langer is our master drone operator of the program and operator of the unit. Deputy Gavin Kretzek is nearing his training to be able to fully deploy the drone. So he's taken all the tests to do that, and he's also had training he goes out and practices with the drone. And so if we needed to call him out today, I have complete confidence in him that he would be able to fly the drone. It's also opened up to anyone else. A while back, we had opened it up to anyone else that had any interest in doing it, that they could certainly let us know of their interest. And at that time, we had no one step forward. So right now it's just Sergeant Langer and Deputy Gavin Kretzek.
Is there anybody else going through the process, or you just finding those two?
No one else is going through the process, but if there's those that are interested, we're always open to add more.
Yes, sir.
So speaking of drones, we have, I mean, if they're gonna fly one, who owns it?
The Waseca County Sheriff's Office owns it.
Okay, you all.
The Sheriff's Office purchased that. The Sheriff's Office has it in our possession. And it normally stays at the Sheriff's Office. That way, if Sergeant Langer is deployed and requested to use it, he can come to the office and get it, or Deputy Kretzek can come and get it. So that's essentially located there, but one of them two people would operate it, and that's not only just for the Sheriff's Office. Other agencies, departments in the county at times have requested use of that drone. And so we would work with them to provide services that they're requesting.
Is that the same one as the fire department?
It does, yes, we have used it for the fire department. I don't believe the fire department has their own, but we have used it for the fire department. We used it for flying over the wildfire we had, or the fire we had again this past spring on the St. Trail. We've taken it out there in the past. We took it out there this spring. We fly it for surveillance. We fly it for accident reconstruction. It's actually used quite a bit also here the last year or so. Sergeant Langer has been using it frequently to work with John Hanson and Discover Waseca with getting some aerial photos and videos for the project that he's working on.
What size drone is that?
I do not have that information. It's huge.
Is it T-100?
I don't know the model number, but we've had it for a number of years, and it's actually a unit that is the first one Waseca County ever had, and it's going to be on the improvement list for moving in the future, because it's just like a computer. It's outdated. It works well, but just like anything, in 6 months, it needs to be upgraded. And so when it's not at the sheriff's office, then one of the officers will have it in their squad to have quick access to it if they're using it frequently. So good questions, Commissioner O'Brien.
Next. Go ahead, sir.
The emergency lights on your squad car, where are they at besides on the credit boards? The reason I'm asking is I've had a couple constituents say they had to stand on their brakes because they saw you come up, didn't see you come up to the intersection until it was almost too late. All they saw were the lights on the running board.
So they're on the running boards, and they're also on the side and the rear hatch area, side window, and then the front and back. So that those are we're looking at adding additional lights to that after some people had some concerns.
They approached me and they're like, we heard the siren and noticed all of the little lights at the last second there. So that was questions.
Yep. Yeah, you can always add more to be safer.
For a little bit. Have you applied for the National Sheriff's Institution?
I have not, they're not currently taking applications at the moment from the last check. So I did look into that. So the application period was not open.
Okay, I looked at it yesterday. They were
Okay, I did not look at it yesterday, so.
Other questions? Go ahead, sir.
So this 26 projection, is that just taking the 6 month multiplying by 2, and that's what we're projecting to be at the end of the year?
Yeah, it's a system generated number. So I mean, if you kind of do some rough math, the 7 complete months, which is essentially what that is about 58% change comparative to any of those individual accounts. So there's no concerns with the current trend, as the sheriff mentioned in 2026, but Tyler Munis, the software itself creates that projected 2026 amount based upon what's happened year to date.
Okay,
So it's good for what it's good for, but it is not gospel because
it's not good for much.
a lot of these accounts, like vehicles is a good example. You see one large purchase the entire year.
Right, it's gonna be ongoing.
Right. The one thing since we paused quick that I wanted to adjust, and this was not the sheriff's fault in any way, shape or form, but a change that I made in the last couple of days and that 5910 transfer in. It looked like the previous year's number, the 325, got copied over to the current year or the 2027 projected. So 80,000, I think, was, and this typically, and the sheriff can certainly jump in if he wants, but this is typically just offsetting what shows up in the vehicle account. In this instance, I think there's just the one vehicle planned for 2027.
That's correct.
Yeah, so usually when you go down to that vehicle expense account, which is there, 6670, you see the $80,000. Almost always, unless there's something else happening, and we've had other things happen, like body cameras and et cetera in the past. But in most cases, it's offsetting the vehicle assigned fund dollars that are being transferred in to offset that expense. So I did adjust that. It was plugged in there for 325. So that's what you'll see from the report that the sheriff provided, because he obviously pulled it sooner than yesterday afternoon.
Sure.
When I was making some of these adjustments.
But that's still in your summary.
Yeah.
It is correct in the summary and it's correct in the roll-up you have, yes.
Now there is a pickup back there, right? I mean, we have a pickup, so we'll end up with 2 pickups.
Yes, that's correct. And there's times that we're using, that pickup and we have a need for another one. When we, with emergency management or taking our units out and then we don't have a second unit to deploy. And so to have a second pickup is something that's, very common in the law enforcement, patrol. And, we're able to haul evidence with it, put stuff in the back, use it in winter months, summer months, and year round. So it's a multi-purpose vehicle.
That 2008, how many miles are on? You know,
2008 has got 142,000 miles approximately. We're having problems with the engine, kind of chugging along and overheating from time to time. Also being an 08, we're experiencing rust issues with it. Not many years, it's a 2-wheel drive version as well. So that's, we had one that was, I think it was, newer than that, but it was just the cap was falling apart. We had the rocker panels were falling off and everything. And so this one here, even though try to maintain them, this Minnesota rust starts eating away on the underside.
I was kind of hoping that there'd be some projections. You know, we had talked a couple months ago about what's the right time to switch over and start transporting, getting this into a 72-hour facility.
Mm-hmm.
I really thought January 1, 2027 would be would give us a year's time to work the bugs out. And work toward that. Has there been any more talk of that, or is there a possibility of that still happening?
Yeah, there's always a possibility can happen. I've had conversations with our county attorney and other leadership in the sheriff's office. We believe January 1st of 2027 is very aggressive. That we could wait until later in the year and we would have that transition and then utilize our current staff to see what needs are met. There's a lot of unknowns with that transition. We've looked at even with the budget with medical and meals and just upkeep or apparel, jail clothing and stuff of how that will change transitioning to another county. So yes, that has been looked at as far as additional staffing. Adding personnel, staying with the same number of personnel is going to be a learn as we go.
Right.
But
So the earlier we can
yeah,
work toward it, I just
Correct.
think it would be better. And
so a little bit later, then we'll be able to have those numbers to project for the 2028 budget is what we're looking at, is we'll be able to experiment with that in early 2027 and then have an idea of what we need for budget planning for 2028.
because we'll want to, I don't know, how does your contracting for meals and medical? That's annually.
That's annually, medical is annually, contracting for meals, we're not currently in a contract because of the unknown unknown plans and now the unknown transitional dates. And so that's been looked at and been discussed as well. So it's also something that, we've had minimal conversation with, but Waseca County also needs to plan for their budget as well.
Yeah, so the quicker we can put a hard date on that, I think the better for the sewer, for everybody.
And I know previously Commissioner McGrath, I think, mentioned January 1st target date, and that's a conversation that we can date we can reach for, but and have further conversation on that with the committee or people that need to be a part of that, what that date is. So, and so there was a discussion with the county attorney about that and the contract and MOU or JPA and how to proceed with that. So,
Yes, sir.
You already have some knowledge with that, Sheriff, because you're sending female prisoners up there at this time.
right.
So you have some historical data on what that's gonna look like. It's not, it's not.
We've been doing it for exactly, Commissioner Hargett. We've been doing it for years with all the females and some of our males transporting out. It's not going to be anything
Right.
different.
It's gonna be times the number of inmates you have, because gender specific doesn't matter in this case.
Correct. Actually, yes, exactly. So, how many of what those numbers will look like, it varies per week, varies per month. And it's hard to put a number on that, but.
I have a question.
And one thing too, just to add to that, Commissioner Hargett, is that we did confirm earlier that one of the questions was court dates or court times for our in custody over there. At times it's been worked out between the different departments. And so at this time, there's really no conflicts that need to be resolved.
Additional question. At one point, we were hoping to get some statistical background from our jail administrator to help us see kind of historically what we've had for prisoners in the last 2-3 years, who could have been transported. Some of those numbers to help us figure out how many trips might it be, those kinds of things. And I don't think we've seen anything back from
That
that.
hasn't, I can email that out to you this afternoon
That'd be awesome.
and do that. And
Do we
to
need to-
come with that it's a conversation needs to.
I was gonna say, I'm sure we need a meeting because like numbers are numbers, but there's gotta be context to numbers as well.
Correct.
And I would love for us to be able to follow up on this meeting on budget and talk about operations. And I know that our law enforcement subcommittee is meeting regularly with you.
And so that's part of that's part of the packet, or when we have a discussion on the potential contract that had been asked for too, or mentioned in a previous setting as well, that there was some requests for that too, based on your comfort level of, to have something in place. So it's all there. It just needs to have a conversation.
Let's direction to staff. Let's set something up so we understand that.
Sheriff, let's circle back to the pickup. That's in the vehicle fund for money. Do you know what it's gonna cost over and above that to equip it?
Well, it's not 100% certain, because so that vehicle would need to have all the equipment installed in it. And the equipment's a little bit different than the Ford Explorers. So I would estimate probably 15,000 or so with lights and cage bars.
Is that a lot buy, or I know Demo treats us right, or is that
It
a
is.
special order?
It is a special order. This was a quote for, that I had reached out to him for 2026 numbers, and obviously they're in a transitional phase between kind of 26, 27 mile years. And so that number certainly can't go up with the cost of everything else going up. And that is not, yes, a lot buy at this time. And so in that quote, there's one that's a really basic scaled down version, and then the other one has some is another model, an XLT model, which is still a lower model that can be utilized as well. So we haven't set on which model we want for that pickup, but we can certainly potentially get one off the lot as well. So those numbers and quotes were for plan to kind of plan for 2027.
Go ahead, sir.
Jay, who does the scheduling for the deputies?
Chief Deputy Gertz does the scheduling with myself and him looking at it. So he's the one that kind of is the master of that schedule, along with the sergeants also assist with it as needed.
Do you do that for the dispatch too?
Currently, yes, the chief deputy works with the schedule.
What shifts do the sergeants generally work?
They work the what we call the evening or afternoon shift, which is 3 o'clock, and start coming on at 3 o'clock in the afternoon to and then they work a 10-hour shift. And that way they have the ability to work with our day staff. They can work with our evening staff, and then they can also touch base with our overnight staff. And so that way they're able to have that connection with all those that are working that date on the different shifts. And so they're on an 8 on 6 off schedule. And so they rotate through with one sergeant working at a time. And then there's also a period, the day overlap, where the sergeants are able to connect to stay connected to one another.
My one question, townships, I had a couple of townships mention to me that they weren't getting their fine money for citations. So maybe there's no citations being wrong.
Okay.
Anyway, so I went and talked with the county administrator, court administrator, and she mentioned that she has sent you notice that some of the tickets aren't getting with the proper information on them. Mm-hmm. And just making sure that you're following up with the staff and your leadership, because to taking care of them, make sure that they're right, because she has to go, goes up to the state, which is a delay, then it comes back to her saying, you need to do this, which means extra work on their part to pull them out at this time.
Yeah, there was a few tickets that were brought to our attention by court administration that they were incorrectly selected where the fines should go. And so that was brought to our attention, and the corrections made, and staff were talked to, and it's been sent out an email and personally explained to the deputies. So it's just human error that for whatever reason they didn't select the appropriate. There's a drop down box that they can select, and they didn't select the correct one. So that we are working on that with them.
Are your sergeants following up and checking on all the reports and information coming through so this doesn't happen?
All the reports are being verified, and they're looking at the calls for service. I can't say that they look at every citation, but that's something that we can address with them.
My last question is, do you still have the Verizon GPS and squad hours?
We do.
I do have one more question.
Okay.
Your budget. Let that come. The overtime, you got 100,007 in there. In the past years, it's been at least 110 or 112. Is that going to be sufficient for this 2027?
It's always tough to judge on that. I think we had some extra money in that in past years. I did have a conversation with HR, with Melissa, about the appropriate number for that. And based on some historical numbers, I believe that we felt that that would be an appropriate number. There is some costs that go into that. There's all kinds of overtime goes into that for various reasons. And you never know, we could certainly blow that number out of the water if we have a major incident. Holidays.
I understand that part, but I'm just thinking you got the holidays and stuff and you're already kind of above that. So I'm wondering, because you pull your holiday time pay out of there, correct? And you're already looking at just because there's overtime, there's going to be overtime in capital. So I'm just wondering if that's a sufficient number to have on.
Just to look at the last couple of years, a little bit more in depth than this year, seeing, I mean, it's been sufficient in terms of the budgets. It was 124 budgeted 119, actuals at 81, 25 budgeted 116, actuals at 112, and maybe slightly above, but pretty much right on in terms of what 2026 would avail today. As the sheriff said, one incident could greatly change that. I'm sure I get that. But this is not to say that this is the right target. That would be ignorant of me to say. But at least with, I can't recall a year in the last several where that's kind of problematic in terms of the actuals compared to the budget.
So,
Follow-up question.
yeah, you said that there was some grants that you were receiving to help with that overtime. Does that show up anywhere here in our revenues?
There's some reimbursements for that. It's probably in the reimbursement fund, maybe the 5860. But it's through TCD. It's a state of Minnesota reimbursement for extra hours or staff work.
And that's something you have to send in and then they reimburse?
Yeah, we have a deputy that's assigned to, he's our TCD coordinator towards zero death. He's a coordinator for that. And so he keeps track of the hours that are available for us to work, reimbursement hours. And then he allots that out to the patrol deputies who are interested in going out and working extra hours to do traffic enforcement. Sometimes that's distracted driving. Sometimes that's speed violations. Sometimes it's seatbelt violations. It's sometimes or DWI or drug impairment focused. So it just depends on what it is. Deputies can go out and work that. They keep track of their traffic contacts, hours worked, and then that's submitted to the state, and then the state will reimburse us for those hours that a deputy or deputies have worked.
I'm going to switch topics just a little bit.
Sure.
I'm interested in training and networking that you and your department do. You know that from my background, I'm all about making sure that we are, that we not only do a good job internally, but that we are well-trained and networking with our neighbors and folks who are in the same profession across the state to help us really have a wider view than just Waseca County, because we can learn things from what other people do. I, do you have staff that are regularly attending trainings where they have face-to-face with other folks who are doing what they do from other counties? I mean, we get that benefit at Association of Minnesota Counties. I know the sheriffs in the state must have the same kind of thing. How much are you taking advantage of that, you personally and for your staff?
Yes, we do. Training and networking is very important. I'm glad you recognize that importance of that. And so training opportunities are available to all of our staff, whether it's our jailers or dispatchers, deputies, civil process, whoever it may be, including our executive assistants are allowed to go into training. If there's something that piques their interest, they can put in a request. They can put in a request to us. We review it. And I can't think of a time that people have been denied that opportunity, because training, the more they know, the better they are, better they can do the job, better they can serve the public. So yes, they have those opportunities to go out there and network. Sometimes some of the courses are online. Other times there are conferences or training seminars that are face to face. So it's very, very important. The more our people can expand their knowledge, 100% supportive of that. And that includes myself going to conferences, our chief deputy, jail administrator, our jail staff, whoever it may be. There's dispatch conferences, there's jailer conferences. There's different assignments with negotiator, SWAT, use of force, taser instructor. We've given those opportunities to our staff. And so they're there.
And I appreciate that those opportunities are there. I am, and I don't know, because I don't know who's going.
Yeah, that's great.
My concern is that it's not just available, but that people are encouraged, and the leadership from the department is thus that they are going. Because it's super easy to say, I just don't want to go out of town. Just don't want to spend a day someplace else. When online is great, we all know that. That's one of the things we learned is we can do things that way, but it isn't always the best way to do it. And so and this is yours to analyze, not mine, because you're in charge.
I can tell you that they are encouraged. We get emails, notifications of trainings. We will send it out to the appropriate individuals so that if they're not aware of it, they're aware.
Yeah.
We do encourage it and make sure that they're available, or work with their schedule and make sure that they are available to attend. So we 100% support them and encourage them to go these trainings and to better themselves.
Good.
The better they are, the better the department is, the better our community is.
Absolutely.
And so as far as networking, we try to do that throughout the community as well, outside the community at different functions. So it's always something that we strive to improve on and do better and make our staff more knowledgeable.
I know how busy you are within the community, and that's easy to see because I see it. That's why I asked the question.
Sure. Yeah, and we encourage that. We've done, like for example, tonight will be a busy night for a national night out at different events. Later in the week is national night out at another City of Janesville events. Tonight it's Waseca and New Richland. There's also different community events that parades and just networking, child safety traffic fairs that have happened at Waseca Library, different schools, ECFE family fairs that individuals are welcome to participate in.
Absolutely, and you're kind of making my point. That's a lot of internal focus, which is awesome and amazing, and it's one of the reasons why there's such a high level of trust within our community with our sheriff's department, which is amazing and wonderful. But that is insular. It doesn't help us get the wider view. So I appreciate that you are making all those opportunities available to your staff and that you are encouraging them to get that wider view. So we're doing the great work that you're doing here within the community, but also understanding the wider view than
And I do,
state and federal setting here.
thank you. And I am grateful, and from time to time, you have sent me notifications on certain things, equipment and or trainings or HR has sent stuff as well. So that's the more information we have that we can send out, happy to welcome that information coming in and distribute it if needed.
Thank you. Other questions?
Just staff said, you know, this one, I want to do the trainings.
Yes. Yep.
Are you the main contact?
They send us notice, and they complete a form as well, showing what they would like to attend and what they would get out of it. We encourage staff to train. We don't force staff to go, because if they're gonna go to something they don't have the interest in, you know, they don't absorb anything. So, but, staff does send us, it's historical that way, that they send us an email and complete a form that says, hey, this is my interest.
More follow-up. Go ahead.
One more follow-up.
Yeah.
I think this will get. I know some staff do not like to go to certain trainings, but some of the younger ones, the newer officers that are coming in, do you send them to the new crime scenes? How to handle them? I mean, that almost kind of, prior to what they had at skills, go to like the BCA offers that training for like 3 classes in a row for a crime scene or.
Yeah, so it's basic crime scene investigation. There's advanced crime scene investigation, basic interview interrogation classes. And so we have, and along with different DWI training classes, we've sent them to, so they have beyond the basics that they learned in college, whether it's recent or a few years back. And at the very least, it's also a good refresher to those that have a number of years of experience. It's good to have that refresher as well.
And you're still have them keep up with their first responders.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, that's very, very important. And so all of our staff, dispatch, jail, and patrol deputies are all EMR certified to have that. It's just, whether they're call takers working in the jail or on the road, and they're oftentimes the first medical responder to a scene. It's very important, and that has continued.
All right. Anything else? Thank you so much for your time and patience with us. We appreciate understanding what's going on in your department.
Happy to answer the questions. Thank you.
All right. IT's up next. Judy, welcome. Thanks for your patience this morning.
I handed out my yearly IT spreadsheet that I kind of created. It's not everything in the department, of course, down to the minuscules, but it's the large dollar items that we go through every year. So I don't know if we want to go through it line by line or if you have skimmed it, have any questions. I try to be as specific on what the detail is so that I'm aware what I spend my money on every year also.
Absolutely.
If you're looking at your roll-up document, it'd be the bottom of page 6, on the page 7.
Thank you. That was going to be my next question is we have Judy's list here and then we can look at it in context of the larger budget here. I don't think we need to go line by line. Are there specific questions? I'm going to start here and then I'll go to you. Okay. We got to spread the joy around.
Just remember, the transfers in budgeted is a lot lower than what consists of transfer ins, and why would that be 150,000 versus last year's projected to be 600,000?
I can touch on some of it too. So typically in any given annual year for IT, there's a placeholder for a combination of reporter technology funds and reporter compliance funds. Those accounts have been waning more and more and are directly tied to what level of activity is happening in the recorder world. So for the recorder fee, $46 fee splits those up and kind of self-funds those pools of money The difference between the two of them is kind of the auditor treasurer has discretionary authority over the tech funds. The board has discretionary authority over the compliance funds. All in all, they offset a lot of programmatic dollars. So almost 3 years ago, this will be the fourth year, we consolidated like all of the software costs across the county under the IT umbrella. So a lot of different departments were paying for support services for software relative to their house and all of that under the IT world so that everything exists in the same spot. Last year, I had set up a large amount of both, our current operating year of interest earning dollars to offset some significant infrastructure purchases. If you probably pull up the notes from last year too, we talked about it in kind of that every 5-year window. And last year was the 5th year of that 5-year window. The last time we did that was in 2020. At the time, we used a combination of CARES Act dollars and then getting into ARPA dollars to make some of those significant server switch type purchases. So each time we talked about one of those, it's a $175,000 conversation. So it wasn't unexpected, but because it was expected, that's why there was a significant more to transfer in dollars that were booked for this particular fiscal year compared to the next. So what you see for the next is a combination of the same, a small amount of the recorder tech dollars and some interest earning dollars as well.
Okay, so is there going to be some of that come in yet this year?
Yeah, the transfers in, we usually see at the end of the year. Yeah, so it's not at all abnormal to see that placeholder because we have to have the placeholder set up so that it reflects accurately to the levy in that levy setting process. But in actuality, we wait towards the end of the year until we actually transfer in those dollars because as you've likely seen or I've shared in the past that sometimes something changes throughout the year and we don't need all of those monies to make that budget. So we anticipate that's what we'll have to spend. But if we would end up transferring in an amount that just makes that budget negative for the year, we don't often do that.
Any follow-ups?
No, just that, yeah, right now the budget is way out of whack because of that transfer is not happening. You know, it looks way over budget.
Sure.
So just looking at my notes for 26 of the 600,000, 250,000 interest earnings to offset our SAM purchases. Transferring in $50,000 of recorder tech and compliance funds. That's offsetting the normal software programming. And then there's a placeholder for $300,000 of CARES Act to offset the servers and switches that were in that program. So that spreadsheet that Judy handed to you is something we look at every year. And the combination of the capital assets and the hardware is often what we seek to offset with other supplementary revenue sources, trying not to offset the programming pieces as much. So you see there's obviously a larger impact that it appears to be on the budget from 26 to 2027, which isn't inaccurate. I mean, it's an accurate number. But yeah, the difference of that $450,000 from one year to the next is not insignificant by any means.
Commissioner Hoover.
We protected quite well. Do we have updated technology?
Yes, we're installing new firewalls. And now we're going to be branching out to solid waste. We have firewall at the facilities building. We have our DR plan out at the CSB building. So we're constantly, upgrading and watching the events of cyber people getting hacked, which city's next, which county's next kind of thing. But yes, we're constantly modifying and upgrading firmware, hardware, software. pieces to be secure.
One other question, this kind of ties into the sheriff's as well. There's some support, LEC support for CIS, MDC support, and for the beacon map. There's 911 funds that can help offset that.
Yeah, we discussed this here, possibly using some of those funds to pay for these items. Because those are the MDC and the CIS. And the beacon is I don't know if it can qualify for the GIS part.
The mapping part, it should be able to just
Okay,
cover that. And I believe.
I haven't looked into that piece, but we have a big list that we,
Can go up.
yeah.
Yeah, Judy and I had some conversation on it.
Like the dispatch computers and stuff that.
Yep.
And then like, the other part is Carrie and Don, their computers can be paid for through the, permit money.
Oh, no. I'm not aware of that.
The permit to carry funds can be
Okay,
utilized for theirs because they have to do all the research on it.
okay, all right.
Just,
So,
I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't, it's not a lot, but it covers, it protects the levy.
So something that you need to understand with the spreadsheet you're looking at, I removed all of the non-capitalized inventory and the capital asset expenses from this program. So you're not gonna see that line for 91,500 or 50,000 in your budget roll-up. Because those were the things that we chose to utilize to purchase this year with the federalized dollars
yeah,
to remove them from the budgetary.
and I left them
program.
on my sheet, so I would remember what I'm purchasing and buying, but
And
not to cause the confusion there.
And the breakdown of that non-capitalized inventory, that was isolated for the sheriff's office. We did discuss, as Judy was alluding to, utilization of 911 funds, because that's. We were able to utilize some of those dollars for some of the dispatch modules and equipment, but it's one that it's restrictive enough that anytime there's anything that qualifies, you pretty much use the funds on it. It's limited.
Okay, I'm not sure if I understood that right. So this 91,500 and this 50,000 that's on this sheet is not in here.
That's correct. They were in the program to begin with. And that's why I want you to understand it, yes, because the impact would have been more significant between 26 and 27. So I chose to remove that 131,500 out of the picture.
But I left it on my spreadsheet, so I couldn't remember what I need to buy for a year. And like we said, we still do anywhere from, we're trying to push out computers longer, because of the RAM costs and the hard drive costs, so we're trying to go 4 to 6 years on some. And some we can't, that are high maintenance ones, like our highway department, our sheriff's department. Some of those we have to do the 3 to 4 year, but we're trying to push out because of the costs. And the time it takes to get a computer nowadays, it's about 4 to 8 to 12 weeks out. So the supply and demand we're still not caught up from the last couple of years. It's still.
Is your staff able to keep up with situations from day to day and still continue to get ready for the next?
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
think you got, are there days that you? The sheriff's office, I'm gonna take it because they have a high maintenance of everything that you, including the body cameras. Are you able to continue to keep them operational?
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm. And they've kind of taken that over themselves. I mean, as far as the key, I'm not sure who your key person is. It Doug, I think. The like body cams and.
It's a team effort. The ladies are involved, depending on what the need is.
So as far as that project, they pretty much handled that one themselves in the sheriff's office.
And I know BCA is getting more restrictive on their audits and things like
Yes.
that. Are we, okay,
Yes.
BCA is able to
Yeah.
kind of keep them at bay a little bit with
Yes.
what we have.
And Carrie and I talk a lot about our audits, and I'm the last, so she's a tax, so plus we do the attorney's office and court services in the sheriff's office, so all three, so. But it's a lot.
I,
And they're getting worse. They're,
Yeah, I was just gonna say there,
Getting worse.
the requirements and time is definitely increasing dramatically.
yes.
And so we've had some conversation about how to handle that moving forward in the future.
Mhm. Same in my department. I know who am I gonna pass it to, and should it be two people now instead of one? Because it's grown so much.
Do you talk about the migration a little bit to Teams and phasing out of MyTel and what the cost implications are?
Yeah, so for that, we're gonna be moving next year, 27. Getting rid of the my telephone system because it's end of life in 29. But I want to get this done and over with before it's end of life. So we're migrating to the Teams voice. So working on the licensing, the migration costs, everyone will need a phone license. Even though they may not have a phone on their desk anymore, because they may go to soft phones or just headsets. So we're working through those steps right now in the planning process of when we start next year. So that's the Teams migration cost that I threw in here. We've got 3 or 4 quotes, and so I kind of went high on it. It might be less, might not even take that much, but licensing for sure, our Microsoft licensing will go up because every single person that uses a phone will need a license, so it's a Microsoft piece. But we'll also get rid of MyTel in the process, so I won't have those costs paying for the MyTel system ones. And then trying to find someone to take, 200 and some phones, try to make a little money on it.
So there's $40,000 in the professional and technical services account, 6260, that is booked for the one-time cost of Teams migration vendor support.
Mhm. And then the licensing comes under the Microsoft, under the 6450 Microsoft licensing. So on there, it's the price increases. Microsoft has a big price increase in July this year that we didn't find out about until December of last year. So the budget was already submitted. So they have a large increase in July. I've already paid this year's Microsoft fees, so I won't see it until next year, the increase. So, but that's the licenses for the Teams voice plus Microsoft. So that the cost of Microsoft is going up.
It does every year.
Yeah.
Some of this is just kind of ridiculous, honestly, because we're held hostage, for lack of a better term, by these companies, and they know there aren't alternatives to them. So Microsoft is astronomically expensive to continue to subscribe to, let alone the 40 other programs and services that we subscribe to on an annual basis.
Any other questions for Judy? Or Michael? Particularly in this area? We're not gonna ask you to go outside your expertise. Sure. Well, we might just talk about it a little bit, but.
So looking at the transfer line, and again, just as Commissioner Christopherson pointed out, if there are other areas that you would like to see some of those cost pressures in this particular budget alleviated, we can look at that, but also trying to revert to somewhat of a sense of reality of what IT would be costing, because you look over the history of the last few years and we've accounted for some larger transfer ins each year or advanced purchase a significant amount of the larger ticket items when we've had the opportunity.
Looks like we don't have anything else. Thank you, Judy.
All right,
We appreciate you being here this morning.
Thank you.
We appreciate your work.
all right.
Sure.
Are we gonna continue?
Now would be an appropriate time for questions. Let's try to be wrapped up by 20 after for sure, so we get a few minutes between.
Yes.
Go ahead.
The library system, that budget was put together by the library board? Or
So it's
a combination of?
a combination of efforts. Yes, the library board is still involved in setting the budget. So we've been through a conversion process. Melissa and I were able to meet with states on a couple of occasions, and basically convert, well, what the library budget structure is to a chart of accounts in our system. So it's in our system for those amounts. That'll be one that we talk about probably at length over the next couple of months. Playing my hand a little bit, I don't actually anticipate there to be a book increase. I think part of the strategic initiative of how to whittle down those reserves with the change of the fiduciary responsibilities that we have. Part of that is just going to be to hold that budget neutral, I think, for the next 3 to 4 years. Because there's always not.
Is there a reserve?
Couldn't say off the top of my head, but enough to hold the budget neutral for the next.
So we could cut out that 4.32%.
Yes, confident that that is a yes. Where I don't want to answer directly about the reserve amount is, well, one, I don't know the exact number off the top of my head because I haven't looked recently, but it's also somewhat compartmentalized.
But they have to ask to make that 563. 34.
So how that works now, I mean, 563 in 2026 is what Waseca County is committed to.
Okay,
So that is our apportionate percentage of the overall program costs for the library system. It's roughly 60-40%.
The longer term look at the library has got to get looked into too, because we can't allow it to expand and then just be happy with bringing it back with reserves, because eventually that's going to catch up to us. So I still think some of what the philosophy of the board wants to be with libraries, you know, there's a whole spectrum of counties that do it differently. And what really makes sense long-term with that system to keep it in check, but yet available for public.
Yeah, absolutely. When we had that presentation to that combination of commissioners between Waseca and the sewer, that was very much part of the narrative. We're committing to a 3+ year conversation. And what do we have to get done by 2027? What do we have to get done in 2027 going into 2028? And a lot of that got into the municipal agreements and conversations that need to happen. Because they're happening differently in different places in different cities. And you're obviously exactly right that in different counties, those arrangements are very different. So we won't change that fact, but we can at least facilitate our own conversations to say, this is an asset to the community. So understanding what the cost impact is to the community, what the cost pressures are, and who ultimately should help them to offset those pressures. Definitely necessary in the conversation, as well as the overall staff. Those are conversations we've had very pointedly even to date. We'll continue to as we move forward.
Now, we've probably seen this, but do we have numbers of like estimated what the city's input is to the building? Yeah, we kind of know what their investment is.
Yes.
on an annual basis.
And there are also moving pieces with that, particularly in a couple of the Sewer County cities. Waterville moving some space. And what they're gonna do is still up in the air. Lee Center, has had a big private fundraising effort. They're going to do some expansion of their library. And so they're working through that process, and those things certainly will play into the larger conversation. But there's a lot of moving pieces here, and as Michael said, over the next 3 years, we're gonna have to grasp this in a different way. We're gonna need to look at those different lines and what happens, and we want to make sure we are setting ourselves up for success. This year is really first steps in grasping the fiscal and the overall management of the system. Yeah.
So we have a historical and a picture of city dollars or city contributions, and I use contribution loosely. Every year, there's an annual report that has to be filed with the Department of Education that the library system does, that the city self-reports on. So you see that word indirect, because those are costs they're realizing, they're not dollars they are paying. So these aren't cash contributions, they're just indirect costs that they are saying that they're incurring as a result of supporting the library. So just clarifying what we're looking at here. So some do snow removal, some do other building maintenance, the space itself, of course, and the utility allocations and maintenance within the interior spaces. And all of that happens a little bit differently in different places. So not all snow removal is treated equally, and in timing. So it's difficult to get all of that to align, because you're working with all of these individual municipalities and asking them to all do it the exact same way, which doesn't happen.
I'll change it over to Mid Prairie.
Okay.
How, with the changes at Mid Prairie, do we have
We got a number in there.
we got a number?
Yeah,
Is that a,
and
is that a guessing number? Is that? We
well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot more difficulty in projecting next year's budget, obviously, because of the split, pulling Steel County out. So we've worked through the new org chart, the amount of employees, and I'm not sure beyond that. Tara must have brought this budget forward.
I can update a little bit on this, because some of this comes out of the finance committee. Finance committee, we are working hard at Mid Prairie to get as close as we can during this transition. One of the things that we are waiting on still is the state of Minnesota to tell us, because we have all these different these funding sources that come into Mid Prairie from the state. Some of them are federal funds that come through the state, but it's all administered by the state into Mid Prairie. And it is up to the state agency to do the math to tell us what those splits are going to be. And we have definitive amounts for about half the grants. So they are working through those things yet. And the projected budget is getting updated every time we have a new information from the state. So this really is, I mean, we're building, putting the bricks one on top of another as we get the more solid information. We have projections, and the projections in this, for the ones we don't know, are just according to kind of population split. And then as we get more solid information, we put that more defined information in there. And then there's the other things we still need to work through, like the Anoka contract. And we have some recommendations from Patty about, because right now as Mid Prairie, we have a bed and a half. We will not need a bed and a half when it's just Dodge and Waseca. Defining how much we need and making sure that we're not paying for more than we need, but that we have that access, because it is critically important to have a place to go with those folks, with those students. So, it's a work in progress, but it is getting more defined, and staff is working hard to pressure the state agency to give us the math.
Right.
Yeah, but we are waiting on the state agency to give us some of the math, yeah.
So would that 7.16% be a conservative number?
Yes,
I would hope so. Yeah.
I think, I can safely say that from a finance committee standpoint, we have asked that we have conservative estimates, that we do not get surprised as best as we can.
So would you be looking to have a percentage of reserve built in? You know, there was a reserve before.
And there continues to be a reserve,
Yeah.
and there are robust discussions around that reserve. Yes.
So let me just clarify a couple of things here. 7.6% is reflection of levy impact, but not budget impact. Because I have 3.4 million budgeted in anticipation of the Waseca County allocation amount. I hope it's less than that. There's also $250,000 booked to offset the anticipated application. So when you look behind the scenes, and you'll see this when we roll up, there's actually 3.4 million that is budgeted with a transfer.
And let's make sure we understand that transferring is from what we got back from Mid Prairie
Yes,
in one of the year-end cleanups.
correct.
Yes,
So there's an assigned fund right now, and same methodology for the current one.
Yep.
So, just want to clarify.
I don't want to rush anybody, but I do want a few minutes between meetings here. Anybody have anything? If not, we will adjourn. And you'll be back ready to go at 9:30.
County has been farming for the past 6 generations. And my mom also grew up in agriculture, but in northern Thailand, where I was born. And my husband and I and our 6-month-old, as of this Thursday, live now down in Harmony. And so it's just because he works out of Decorah. Otherwise, I would still be a Waseca resident. So you can blame him. But our offices, our headquarters are in Owatonna, and we serve a 20-county region. So Waseca County is very much at the heart of that 20-county territory. And so I wanted to share just a little bit, both about the foundation and some of the recent work in Waseca County. You'll see there's a thick packet in front of you that shares just a little bit about the work that we do. But just as a refresher, and especially if there are people here that are new to Smith, we are celebrating our 40th year birthday this year. We were forged in crisis, in the heart of the farm crisis in the 1980s. And at the time, the McKnight Foundation, based in the Twin Cities, said, how can we support Greater Minnesota? And had the great novel idea to say, we don't know what Greater Minnesota needs. How can we support the communities who do? And so they worked with local leaders. Ed Frederick actually was one of our founding board members. So that was special to get to feature him in our 40th celebration. But we worked with folks like Ed to start these 6 endowment funds all across Greater Minnesota. And 40 years later, we've grown that endowment fund to be able to use the earnings off of that to reinvest in grant making and also do small business lending all across the 20 counties. We're also a place that donors, including also cities and counties, can reinvest in every year as a place to keep wealth local. And that is what helps us then over the course of 40 years and 40 years into the future, continue to keep giving into the region. So that's a little bit about the foundation. Our key areas of focus, you'll see in your packets, are around early childhood, entrepreneurship, and community vitality. And so first, just kicking off on the early childhood piece, this is both to support quality early childhood education, as well as to help increase the supply and access for childcare. And so in that, we put grants out every year that are training early childhood providers on all the kind of top quality education learning that helps them stay in licensure. So the state requires them to have professional learning credits each year. And so that is something that we can provide for free to care providers. We also have our early care grants and book donations as well. So you'll see we've donated several hundred books here into Waseca County, including Waseca County Public Health, where they'll do home visits for pregnant moms and moms with young children, and will infuse the importance of early literacy and reading in part of those visits too. New Richlands Public Schools also got a good stack of books from our programming as well. And as I mentioned, we have early childhood provider trainings, and we've seen a good showing also of Waseca County providers. I also just heard the other week too that I think the school here, Waseca Schools, is thinking about also expanding childcare access and creating more slots. Please know on our lending side, we have lending dollars also available for childcare providers. And it's both, low interest financing, helping with working capital, purchasing equipment, and we can also provide financial planning assistance and have you work with a consultant one-on-one and help you plan out how to make that a financially sustainable operation. And we can offer that for free as well. So we work with a group called First Children's Finance that can provide that. So I just want to put that seed as you all are thinking about supporting that effort. Second, on the lending piece is our entrepreneurship work. I'm super proud to see many of the small businesses that I love have been supported by Smith. So we've got a feature here in your packet with Hardy Manufacturing, helping them with some of their equipment expansion as well. They do CNC plasma cutting services on top of many other things too. But Pleasant Grove Pizza Farm is a loan client. Morgan Smeet is as well. And we also have increasingly been playing this intermediary role with the state of Minnesota for when they have grant and loan programs in order to make sure that they get to Greater Minnesota and to the right businesses. We are their partner in distributing a lot of those grant dollars. So For example, we had a $25,000 Promise Act grant that we gave to Pippi Lane Boutique in Janesville, and as well as a Promise Act grant to Kroger's Concept here in Waseca. So that's a role I think that we'll probably continue to keep playing with the state and as a way to make sure deep dollars get to our rural communities. And then finally, our community vitality spotlight here we've got two major initiatives out of our community vitality program. One is our community foundation portfolio. We have 36 community foundations across 20 counties under our umbrella. We're closely with the Waseca Area Foundation. I'm a former board member of Waseca Area Foundation. They're not under our umbrella, but we coordinated on a lot of things together, including as well, we'll be making a grant to the CEO program that Waseca Area Foundation and the public schools are working on, and getting youth access to the local businesses here, and it's a full-time class. I understand that they'll be taking that soon. But one of the features here is we have a small town grant program that is specifically for communities 10,000 and under, and it's pretty vague. It's just to support efforts of people coming across multiple sectors or community groups together to work on a common issue of importance for that community. So that's looked like a lot of things, but the spotlight here is our grant to the Waseca Area Neighborhood Service Center to help them get nutritious, low-cost foods out to families that need it. Other things that we've seen as well, we are out of our community vitality program. We're an intermediary for the Taylor Family Farms Foundation. And so that also allows us to give capital improvement grants, which are kind of hard to find in philanthropy, not just for programming, but for actual capital expenditures. So we've done quite a bit of that as well. For example, almost 30,000 to the Bethlehem Inn right here in town as well. And I'll flag that coming up, we've got two grants right now open, our economic development grant and our small town grants that I just mentioned. Coming up in September, we'll also have 3 new grant opportunities open. One is our early childhood care grant, and that's for programming related to supporting early childhood. But then we also have the 2 tailored grants open, half of which will be going to capital improvements for early childhood and childcare providers, in-home providers as well. And then the second one is around community gathering spaces. So things like pocket parks or downtown alleyways, things that bring community members together, fairgrounds, for example. So those are 2 of our capital and infrastructure grants that will be made available. Okay, I know that was a lot of talking here, but I just want to say thank you. I know Waseca County has been a year after year supporter and donor to the foundation. So thank you. I know your most recent gift this past year was around 2,700. So just say thank you. We're proud to say all 20 counties in our region are donors to Smith. And we invite you to think about renewing at that level for this upcoming budget as well. So with that, I'll pause. Happy to take any questions. I'll also just brag and say that on the Acres for Good, it's our farmland donation program. The cover of that is me and my cousin Jason at our family farm here in Waseca County. So you are featured in land and landscape in our materials too. So
That's what matters to us.
yeah.
Show us the country.
Just
Show us the country. Thank you, Benya. Do we have any questions for Benya? No. I just want to thank you for being here. Thank you for the work that you do on behalf of the region, but certainly on behalf of your home place here, Waseca County. Thanks for being a partner with us.
absolutely.
And we are. Oh,
I will have one
yeah,
question.
go ahead, sir. Yep, go ahead.
The donation we give, is that suggested by you guys, or is that something we arrived at, or how does that amount get? Is it calculated by population, or?
There's no set formula. They come to counties and say, whatever you can manage and support, we'll work with you on that. So.
I didn't know if you had suggested because of our population.
Yeah, we can make it 30,000.
You asked.
These people.
You asked. You don't ask, you don't get.
I just was wondering if we were similar to our similar counties, you know, or.
Yes, looking at the full spectrum, yeah, I'd say Waseca County is in line with, given the size and population, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
Good.
Anything else? If not, thank you for taking time to drive over here to our little corner of the world. and
Absolutely,
to,
well, making a day of being here in Waseca, so.
Well,
I get a
excellent.
tour of a URI.
Oh, good for you. Well, thank you for being here and blessings on the next one.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
All right. Here we go. Then we're going to go on to public comment right now before we get to approving our agenda. So next,
Public comment.
yeah, I have a couple people here, I think, for public comment. So public comment is now open and we would welcome whoever wants to come to the podium to make public comment. Please state your name and let us know where you're from, and then we want to hear from you.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for listening to me. Terry Rainhill, and I live at 36647 149th Street, Waseca, Lakeview Estates, east of Waseca. My family farm is west of Waseca in St. Mary's Township, Section 4 and Section 9, right along the highway bypass. So roughly 20 years ago, when the bypass came through, my brother and I, who since passed, we had a 12-acre parcel. And so MnDOT condemned 9 acres and left us 3. At the time I wanted a fish pond. I didn't get a fish pond. I got a wet, dry pond. So the county liked it because it's a pretty big incline coming down the hill. So if we get a big dumpster, like 6-8 inches, water runs into the pond before it goes into the county, Waseca County Ditch 38. And so that's all good. MnDOT has a permanent easement on my 2.3 acres. But I got stuck with the ditch assessments, the taxes, and the cleanup of the pond, which I don't do anymore. I finally got a hold of somebody at MnDOT and said, no, we got a bunch of these and we don't want you climbing down in there. We can't even do it. We're gonna try and spray them this fall because they're all full of brush, starting from almost to Rochester to Mankato. And no, we don't want you climbing down in there anymore. Don't do that. So I've been to MnDOT to see, and I'm not, see, if I would have did absolutely nothing, that had been cropped, and I would have been eligible for CRP. So in the last 18, 19 years, I've thrown a $20,000 bill away. So I'm just trying to figure out what to do with this thing, because MnDOT doesn't want to buy it from us. Tom Sexton, I talked to him, and he said, I can tell you the guys in Steele County that have these, they're less excited about these ponds than you are. They're right down nasty about them, because MnDOT kind of did aggressively. They hired an outside firm to do these condemnations. And they were pretty aggressive on, they wanted to get this project rolling at the time so that the contractors and everything could do the work on the thing. So we aren't doing these easement things anymore. Either you own it or the state of Minnesota owns it. So, but because of this ponding thing for me, I'm not eligible for anything. I can't, so DNR isn't interested in it. RIM programs, nothing. So I'm just stuck with the tax assessment on it, any ditch assessments on it, anything. So, and I'm sure your question back to me is, what do you want you folks to do? And I don't really have a clear answer on that. Maybe at some point I could have maybe at least a ditch assessment forgiven. I'll pay the taxes on it, or maybe a letter to MnDOT to help us. Maybe they purchase this land. I did go over and talk to them gentlemen over there, talk to a whole bunch of folks. I'd have to pay for get it resurveyed again and to have a assessment done on it, or and say it'd be worth 10,000 an acre. We would never pay you that. We'd maybe pay you 10% of that. But you'd have to pick up all the costs to have that done, which I would get absolutely nothing out of. So I'm not going to do that. So, and that's my concern today. Thank you.
Thank you for being here and letting letting us know about your situation.
Yep, thank you. I'll take any questions on that or anything else that you have on it. So,
Any questions from anybody on the board?
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for being here, Jerry. All right, public comment is still open.
Thank you for also listening to me. My name is Jeff Hill Schmitz from Waseca, northwest of here. I farm just northwest of here and between Waseca and Janesville. And this, I'm standing here to visit with you about the woods that is for sale. That was put up for sale 3 different times over by the ethanol plant. It came out for bids the first time, and the second time there was no bids. And then they lifted the all the restrictions off the woods so we could do anything that we thought we could do. And we could build on it, we could hunt on it, we could do anything. But then as we found out after I put a bid in and I was the successful bidder, and I bid what I thought it was worth a little bit more because it all the restrictions were lifted. And as we learned that maybe all the homework wasn't done, and now the restrictions are back on. And so what I was hoping to do is I put a bid in quite a bit higher without the restrictions. Now with the restrictions, I am still willing to put in the minimum bid so I could purchase it. And then the situation could go away for you guys too. And it's adjoining to me. It's going to stay at woods anyway for right now. I would hope that you could entertain the that offer, and hopefully that we could get this job done and I could purchase it from you. So any other questions that you might have?
Not at this time. Thank you for being here, Jeff, and thanks for public comment on this.
Yep.
We do have an agenda item later on our agenda around this particular piece. All right. Anybody else for public comment? Hearing and seeing none, we will close the public comment. We don't usually get a lot of public comments, so it's kind of exciting. Next, we will go on to approval of an amended agenda. We've already amended it. This Southern Minnesota Institute Foundation was presenting to us and whatnot. So I would be looking for a motion to approve the amended agenda as it is printed on the screen.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Milbreath.
Oh, second for discussion.
Thank you, Commissioner Hargit. Any discussion?
Yeah, you were going to ask if anybody had anything to add or delete from the agenda.
Yes.
Usually. Okay. So number 5 action items, letter E, that PID should be 02-036-0120. If you look it up, somebody's hog barn in Richland area, it's going to be ground cannabis.
So give us the,
It is correct on page 70.
but it's not correct
47, it's not correct in here.
on the agenda. Okay, and give it to us one more time.
The PID is 02.036.0120.
It's just 0.
Instead of 03, it's 02.
Thank you for paying attention to all the stuff. Appreciate it. All right. We have that correction to our agenda as well. Any other amendments or corrections to this agenda? Hearing and seeing none, then we would approve the amended corrected agenda. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right, we are past on that. Then Next on our agenda is approval of county board minutes. And
I'll make that motion as a slate.
Second.
all right. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposing sign. All right. Consent agenda. We have the regular approval of the bills. We have approval of the first half 2026 residential tax abatement payments. We have SWCD riparian fund approval. And we have approval of amendment to exclusive agricultural use zone restrictive covenant for David and Cheryl Posey, for a portion of PID 07, 027, 0200. So I would be looking for a motion for the consent agenda.
So moved by Kelsey.
Motion by Commissioner Krause, second by Commissioner Christopherson. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right. Then we are on to a robust list of action items. And first is the property sale. Thanks for being here, staff.
Good morning.
Good morning, Berlin.
So, basically, the, Waseca County put up 20 acres of property for sale. To basically put back in the taxpayers' hands due to it being landlocked and not open to the public to enjoy. Letters were sent out, 3 times informing them of sale of property, and 30 days later, a bidding packet went out, following the state statute for sales. Sealed bids were due by 1 p.m. on 7/23/26 and opened at the East Annex on 7/23/26 at 1:10 p.m. At that time, Waseca County received 2 bids on a parcel. One of the bids had to be rejected due to being less than the minimum on the bid form of $25,000. That was set by the county board meeting. At the time, the sealed bid, the winning sealed bid was in the amount of $40,400 sent in by Jeff Hillschmitz. So upon that, with that being said, looking into further into the document and being contacted by another family on there, supposed to stay in its natural state, which was not in the bidding package. It was stated on there it could be built on. So I had contacted, he was here publicly speaking this morning. I basically told him he could keep his bid. We would have that put into the closing documents that would have to stay in its natural state, or he could reject his bid and we would start all over. With the public comment, I see he stated that he's willing to drop his bid down to the minimum due to the circumstances of $25,000 and doesn't have a problem with it staying in its natural state at that cost if the board was to accept that. Otherwise, if not, we basically take it off the agenda and we start over with sending out another letter and doing another bidding packet on the exact same property. So the request that I'm having here right now to accept the $40,400 that's on the board agenda, I cannot accept that, or the board, me saying the board should not accept that, $40,400 due to legality in a legal document. Questions?
Let's start with questions. Go ahead, sir.
So what is the, I'll have to ask all you guys. If we were to say, because these restrictions are going back on, it needs to be in its natural state. Jeff has indicated he's willing to pay the minimum. There was no bids over the minimum other than his. Correct. Last bid, so can we do that without having legally do that, without having to go around again?
I think might be a question for our county attorney or our administrator to give us some guidance.
It's going to be more of a matter of opinions at this point in time. So the board set the sale price. If we were in step 1 or step 2 of this process, it would be a hard no from just my perspective. Because when we go through this irregular parcel sale process, step 1 is fair market value. Step 2 is 90% of fair market value. Step 3 is board set the price and try to sell this thing. That's where we're at. So the $25,000 came from some insight from the assessor's office. However, when we had that conversation in terms of comparables, this decree of distribution was not taken into consideration. The county did not want to restrict development on it. And then upon discovering this decree after the fact, which is what Brian was referring to, compels us by accepting this property to the Waseca County Park System, subject to the condition that said real property shall be preserved in its natural state. Proper and generally accepted practices. I don't know what proper and generally accepted forestry practices are. Won't pretend to do so, but because it is a legal document, my assumption, and Rusty, the better one to ask here, is that it would take a legal document to remove this restriction or covenant on the property itself. So we don't have the ability, and I appreciate Jeff's patience and stepping through that process as well to lessen the restrictions that court document has. As far as can we do it, ultimately, I wasn't comfortable in answering that question directly with Jeff, which is why I encouraged conversation with the board. But the board set the sale price. If there were other competitive bids, my advice would be definitely not. If you have multiple interested parties for this price point, then start over and send it out anew, even if it seems silly. It still is better to do it that way, in my opinion, knowing that there weren't competitive bids, knowing that the situation has significantly changed from Jeff's perspective. The board has the authority ultimately in what this sale price is, and the board has the authority in making that determination to sell it. I specifically said in conversation with Jeff over the weekend or whatever that was, what if it all gets rejected right now? What if nobody had bid? And they said the natural next step for the county would be to come back and likely lower the sale price again until somebody eventually decides that they want to acquire it. Because there's nothing other than an adjacent land to have benefit to acquire this particular piece of property. So it's not always in the county's interest to get rid of an irregular parcel. In this instance, it's in the county's interest to, if there's a willing buyer that has adjacency to the parcel, to sell. I can turn it over to Rusty.
Yeah, I mean, I generally agree with that. I haven't been involved with this, so I don't know all the facts. So I don't want to say too much, but it's kind of the most complicated area of law when we have these kind of things that are decreed and have these restrictions on them. They don't always apply. Sometimes there's a way to get around it. And I haven't looked at the documents, so I don't know if that's the case, but I'd say what Michael suggested is the most efficient way to do it. The other option is that if we say that there aren't restrictions, I look back to the estate and whoever might have it that point. I don't know if you want to do that or not. But yeah, I'd be willing to take a look at it in more detail if you want me to. But I haven't seen any of these documents before.
All right. I'm just thinking how we want to proceed here. Why don't we, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna look for a motion, some type of motion in a second, and then we can have discussion. Moving forward.
I would move that we sell the property at the bid. Jeff Bill's. Second.
Motion by Christopherson, second by Wilbur. Now
Can we add into there that because of the stipulations that came up during the process, that's why we had to change that?
The reasoning for lowering it would be the restrictions that we weren't aware of.
Yes.
okay,
Question. So it was given to the county
mhm,
and the wording is the county shall leave it in its natural state as long as they own it. Can that be passed on to the next owner? Or is that not held that way?
This goes back to what Rusty just said a minute ago. Sometimes it transfers, sometimes it does not.
Yeah, it's, if you word it, like there's different ways to word it. If you word it one way, it does one thing. That's why I want to look at it in detail and check with a lot of the details in law school, but this is the area that has most malpractice claims, so you need to be really, really careful what you do with them.
Oh, and here's my reason, like theory behind just getting it sold. If Jeff were to get by these restrictions and able to build on that, and he did, it would be assessed at the value it is, and we would collect the taxes just like we are. So it's still getting, the value would increase. The only thing we're sacrificing is $15,000. But we're getting it out there in the hands of the privates. If he's able to increase the value of that property by building on it, so be it.
good comments.
Just to clarify that, if, I mean, say we're not sacrificing 15,000, our expectation was 25,000 from day one, because that's what it was set as. And I also would just suggest upon Jeff's comfort in this process too, as Rusty stated, Rusty can still certainly take a look at this after the fact, and we'll continue to have a conversation. And if Rusty feels or the attorney's office feels that we ran into something unexpected, we can certainly have that conversation. So the intent of this action is to approve the sale at the minimum bid price. We'll continue to review that process as staff and work with Jeff to facilitate, finalize that process. If for some reason we need to come back to you, we'll do that by the 18th and revise that ask as needed. If that's acceptable.
Knowing how much staff time this takes to run through this process every time we do it. And I would welcome further discovery on this. But really, if we are willing to sell this for the minimum bid of $25,000 to Jeff, it then literally becomes his responsibility to do legal exploration, and we can certainly do our end from county records and whatnot, but it becomes his responsibility to explore his ability as not the county, as the next owner of that property. If there's a way that he can make that buildable, which is again, less staff time, less onerous on the county to figure that out, because we know what we as the county can and cannot do. And I don't want to say we pass the problem on to the next landowner, but he intends at this point to leave it in its natural state, so he has plenty of time to explore those possibilities for as long as he wants to own that property. But obviously, once again, he's not going to sell it with no access. if he does decide to move it sideways. So if the value is the value, and if he can improve the value, yay. And if he can't, lots of deer are living out there. So, those are my thoughts. Other comments or questions? Okay. We have a motion, we have a second on the table. If there isn't any further discussion, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right, let's get her done.
Thank you.
All right, next.
I'll be there. All right.
Contract 812609, Bridge 88497, and Bridge 2585.
That's like your vacation.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I guess prior to the meeting starting, I did hand out a bid summary, results for this contract that we're discussing. But the contract is for the proposed replacement of two structures on Old Highway 14, the first one being on the Waseca Steel County line, Bridge 88497. Originally constructed in 1925, was a 10x6 concrete box culvert and extended in 1979 with corrugated metal pipe. Overall poor condition and is eligible for state grant funds. The second structure is Bridge 2585, which is west of town on Old 14, about a mile east of Crystal Valley, mile and a half east of Crystal Valley, and carries, it predates County Ditch 38. No longer really is doing any runoff for surface water. There's a culvert that is now CD 38, just to the west of the structure. So the structure primarily is overflow structure. And it's also in poor condition and is eligible for replacement. Both of these structures will come off our bridge system as they'll be less than 10-foot spans when completed. And the state grant program allows 100% funding for the construction of what is called a road in lieu of bridge project. So since these will be less than 10-foot culverts, which is our definition of a bridge here in the state of Minnesota. Again, since they'll be coming off the system and the state will actually pay 50% of our construction cost, which normally on our facades is only 50% of our eligible items. So it's a good deal for us, good deal for the state, good deal for everybody to get these removed off the bridge inventory. And really, I guess, next thing is we prepare plans, we advertise the bids and open bids last Friday. We had 8 bids. And again, I handed out that summary. Sally Excavating was our low responsive bidder with a bid amount of $480,138 for the contract. And the second page of your bid summary, I have broke out each project as well as total, so you can kind of see how they compared individually as well as combined. Engineer's estimate was over $600,000 for the contract, so excellent bids. I think I landed right in the middle of all of the tenders, which is a nice place to be. I would recommend award to Sally Excavating for $480,138.
Can I ask you to repeat one thing again?
Yeah.
I didn't understand. I can remember. You said right now they're 10 foot. They're going to be less than 10 foot after reconstruction.
Correct. So the easy one is the one west of town in Crystal Valley, west of town. This a twin cast in place box culvert that predates the ditch. So you used to take all of the water that drained that direction. The ditch now carries that water. Given hydraulics of that center line culvert that carries the ditch and a 48-inch pipe, we can safely carry all, like a Q100, Q500.
And the other one
Is an old 10x, so the one on the Waseca Steel County line is a 10x6 box culvert built in 1925 and extended with 6-foot diameter pipes. So they actually reduced the size, the area of opening of the pipe back in 1979. And it adequately, I think that one actually carries the 500-year flood event without any trouble as well. With our road. And the box culvert we're gonna put in as an 8x4, so the area of opening is actually larger than what's there now. But it's taking longer, so
Okay,
should be stable.
that's what I would.
Yes, it was. 100% understand, yep.
Great. Thanks for asking those questions. At this point, let's look for a motion in a second, and then we can have any questions or discussions.
Second, go for that.
All right. Motion by Cargill, second by Nelbrat. Other questions or discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Thank you for,
I guess I will just add, we do intend to build these yet this fall.
awesome.
Both of them.
Great.
Good.
All right, next, you might as well stay right there. Cooperative construction agreement on Bridge 8847.
Thank you. So fairly standard practice when a structure falls on a county line is to share costs with the neighboring county. So we prepared a cooperative agreement with Steele County, which basically would split any costs above what state grants would pay for 50-50. I think I said sort of clearly that the state grants are going to pay for 100% of construction funding. So really, this should be no need for the agreement, but it's there just in case. The Steele County Board did execute the agreement last week at their county board meeting. And I would recommend authorizing the board chair to execute the agreement as well.
Make that motion.
All right.
Crosby will second.
Motion by Commissioner Lambert, second by Commissioner Krause. Any questions or discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right,
Awesome. Thank you.
it is requested that we recess for 5 minutes.
Thank you.
All right, you got a minute?
Yeah.
You got a minute yet? I said 5 minutes, we're gonna make it 5 minutes. All right, we are at 10:19, so I will reconvene us. And at this point, we are under the action items at letter D, public hearing to consider amendment to Waseca County fee schedule and adoption resolution 2026-24. Tina, all you.
Thank you. We have, as you know, been working through our cannabis projects through the planning and zoning department. And we've now had a year under our belt of processing and helping to those projects come into fruition. Through that last year's process, we have determined that there were additional licenses for us to respond to, as well as additional fees that were related to that. And in addition to that, in reviewing the fee schedule as a whole, we did discover that there were some fees that have been being charged that weren't on the schedule directly. So we've added those few housekeeping items at the bottom. So what I did for your information is to include what the original fees that have been adopted through the canvas. And then after reviewing state statute and updating our, we're working on a draft to update our UDC code related to cannabis. We are asking you to consider adopting these fees that have been presented to you today. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
My question is going to be, because we have two actions here, is there a preferred order? They are listed here as first amending the fee schedule and then adopting the resolution. Does it make a difference?
So Madam Chair, by statute, you have to facilitate a public hearing before any amendments to the fee schedule. So after that public hearing has concluded, the resolution itself effectually changes the fee schedule.
That's what I wanted to make sure that we did them right.
Thank you.
All right. All right. We have heard the topic. We've listened to the presentation. I've asked for questions from the commissioners, and I'm going to do that one more time. And hearing and seeing none, I would move us into public hearing at 10:21. And I would ask if there is any public comment on this amendment to the fee schedule. A second time, any public comment?
Yeah, what is the fees being exactly being introduced?
It doesn't affect you because your application is already in place.
No question.
There we go. Could you supply for the minutes, could you please supply your name?
My name's Elijah. Yes.
Great, thank you. And anybody online with a question?
Not that intends to speak, that I see, Madam Chair.
All right, then I would look for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. Second, Krause.
Motion by Christopherson, second by Krause. All in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye. Opposed, same sign. All right, we are out of public hearing now. And now we would move to board action. So, we would, I would look for a motion to amend the Waseca County fee schedule and adopt resolution 2026-24.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Milbreth.
Second, by Krause.
Second by Commissioner Krause. Any discussion?
Commissioner Walter, Ned, I've chatted with Tina on this prior to, because OCM sat on their hands most of this year and no one got plants in externally. There were some plants put in yesterday, about 7,000, looking to put the other 3,000 in today, weather permitting. Most of these license holders are going to see no return this year at all, 0 return. And next year, we're going to hit them with a double fee from what we were at. I mean, I get it. I see where OCM was at 375. They may not even know that. But why are, it was always cart before the horse, this whole thing was. And I'm hearing it from the people that have licenses that were paid for that they're not even going to be able to utilize.
So I will say, the 3 cannabis licenses that we have processed so far this year, this initial fee schedule wouldn't be applicable. We can't go back and charge them for it. But as it turns out, those 3 licenses are the ones who are putting crops in the ground. And so I'm not really concerned about their ability to pay the renewal fee to us, given what the renewal fee will be to the state. Ours is minor compared to that. We have one other license further on in our agenda today. We have another CUP for cannabis, a micro business. That application for registering the license is already in, so I can't backdate the applicable fee, but they are growing in a greenhouse hoops. And so it would be something that would come out next year after they have had a harvest. And then in the future, the fees that we have set are in line with state statute. We are less, obviously, than what the state is charging, and we are capped at that 500 initial and then the 1,000 renewal. And so in that we are that's a standard set by the state that the other counties are following. So that would be my response to those. There isn't those right now, the 3 that are completely processed and then 1 in process. For those that didn't put plants in the ground here, they have not registered their licenses yet. So when they do register their licenses next year, when they go to put plants in the ground, it'll be $500 because it's the first time we're processing their license. Right now, they're not registered in Waseca County, but OCM hasn't asked for it either.
So this is the maximum allowable. If we're sitting here 2 years from now, after this gold rush of cannabis is over, it's still going to be 500 and 1,000.
For initial, yes. I don't foresee that changing. The state's had these fees in place since they announced fees. So 2024.
Now, I know you guys have talked about this at length. I would have liked to have seen it stay the same through next year. Just to have 2 years of it. The first year that was a debacle, and the second year was hopefully the outdoor grow. I understand the indoor grow. That happened. It's the outdoor grow that OCM held up.
And I understand your thought process, but part of our complication is we never considered a cultivator's license to begin with. We never considered a manufacturer's license to consider. We never considered a wholesaler, a transporter, or a testing facility. None of those licenses were considered to be licensed within Waseca County at the time you adopt it. What we have done and are in the process of doing is becoming compliant with what the state is. And we are still, if you have a micro business on the original fees, we originally charged no fee, but it's been standard that $500 initial registration fee is standard through code, through the state code. We are not charging any application fees. Apparently that is allowed on some of the processing. We are not doing any of the application fees. And when you get down to the lower potency hemp, we actually went lower than what we needed to. So I guess, I mean, you are the body that sets the fees. This is just our recommendation. If you were to decide to change that, that's what this is all about and what you would like to do.
So would it be fair to say, you know, you said, you know, the transporter, the testing, the event, that wasn't even going to come to fruition, and yet it has. So is it staff time? Is that why we're doubling the fee? Because as I look at it, you were going to get the $500 for something that you didn't anticipate. And now you're going to get $1,000 the second year.
So if you look at, I will say yes, related to staff fees, staff time and processing to go into that initial registration fee. And it's no less of, there is no less work. In fact, maybe even a little bit more if it's not what we're operating on now. The 3 licenses that have been processed so far are 1 cultivator and 2 mezzo businesses, and we process them under or micro business. So if they process it under no charge. We have another it's a mezzo business or micro business, micro. And again, that's no charge. So they are coming in under that no charge this year. If you would like to change what those are, it's your decision.
I guess the next question I have is, you know, we haven't seen your budget yet. Are you anticipating these numbers? Are they plugged into your 27 budget? Okay.
No.
So at that point, and I know this has already been voted on for this amount of money, I am unable to say anything about it. We just came out of the public hearing. I thought there was a motion.
We have a motion in a second.
Right.
This
So
is
it's
discussion. This
Right.
is discussion.
What I'm saying is, I can't vote a yes vote on this for doubling the fees after the first year seeing.
Okay. More discussion? I have something. I appreciate your view on this. I am taking a little different overall view on this. When legalizing cannabis was first proposed and first negotiated into state statute, it came with some portion of revenue from fees and taxes collected by the state coming back to local government. In a subsequent legislative session, that ability for us as local government who are incurring costs, not just in planning and zoning, but in law enforcement, in public health, in a number of other areas, legalization, our county attorney, even with our workforce, how we deal with in our own policy, how much time have we spent talking about now that it's legal, how do we deal with it here within our county workforce? Those are all expenses that we are incurring as a local government body The fees proposed here are to, in my mind, that helps us weigh out against all that other cost that is coming to Waseca County. Now that we get zero revenue back on this. And so I get where, from the producer side in particular, Commissioner, I get where you look at this and you go, oh, you know, this is the frustration with the state, how this has rolled out, the inequity, the mismanagement of time, how this has not rolled out in a timely, reasonable fashion. But just from the government side of it, we're spending a lot of money and a lot of staff time trying to figure this out here in Waseca County. And this is the only way that we can, other than a small amount of public health funds that went out to all the counties to deal with this, the state has provided little to no funds to help local governments, counties navigate this change. This is the only avenue they have left us. And I know that puts it on the producer's back, and we like people who grow things here. We absolutely do. And I appreciate you standing up for that. But I also think we need to use the mechanisms that are allowed us here. And so if this is the state standard and this is what counties are going to be charging, I don't think we should charge less because we're Waseca County.
And if I could interject, we do have an obligation to do compliance checks that come through the sheriff's department. There's a pre-compliance check, there's an annual compliance check. They are authorized to do unannounced checks. And so it's not just staff time processing inside the office. And we have to do that compliance check and the pre-compliance check, whether we charge you a fee, whether we charge them a fee or not. Those things have to be done.
I think when a person looks at something for the first time, that's more difficult because you haven't done it before. Maybe that's when you should have charged $1,000. In year two, you say it's 500 because now it's easy peasy. We know what we're doing. I'm having a hard time with this.
Yeah. Coming
through the first year with the frustration, even in your office, and I understand the time that you put into this.
And again, this is the way the state has said no more than 500 the first year. And then you could do 1,000 for the second year. So it's not like we had that choice. But like I said, if you wanted to make fees less, you know, that's what this is all about.
Madam Chair,
Sir?
comment on you if you like to grow things in the county. I'm going to tell you, I don't think this is something we should grow in our county, but it's something that has come upon us and we have to take care of.
Mm-hmm.
My other concern is the state has been such a mess trying to get this worked out. And we're still not even sure where it's going to go. And we're charging a larger fee for some people that were planning to have crops in the ground. And now we're just putting it in, which they're not going to amount to much of anything this year. And next year, we're going to charge them with no, per se, any profit on that. Another fee, and the state's going to charge them another fee. And it could change all again by the time we get around to that. So I don't know if throwing this out there right now and waiting a year might be a better idea. 2 cents.
I can also agree with what you said, Commissioner Malter. I mean, we like to grow things in Waseca County. I don't want to mirror Steele County or Blue Earth County. Let them be hired and let more people come into Waseca County.
So Madam Chair, just to restate, this is the county fee schedule, where it is typical for us to use the state as we're at this point with all of this. There are deviations, and never been too secretive about my disdain of the fee schedule as a whole since I started working here. But regardless, I understand it's a necessary tool at times, especially in instances such as this, where an unexpected industry starts to capture a good deal of staff time. But it's the county fee schedule. It changes every year. It has changed every year and will change every year. And you take action on it every year. So if it's uncomfortable that we're in August and making a change, at least in these thresholds, you're making the same decision in January of 2027, whether at this price point or a different price point. So where we do need to catch up in terms of all of these additional things that have come to light since we took initial action on this, it is not affecting anything from the budgetary program, to Commissioner Hargit's question, in 2027.
So at this point, this amends our fee schedule until we take up the fee schedule again in January. And when we talk about that fee schedule, and we always review it, we could at that time choose to make a different decision on any of those fees, including these particular fees.
Yes, absolutely.
Just want to be very clear on that.
And that's why I wanted to say, like Commissioner Hargit has educated me in terms of the actual impact of the industry this year. Those aren't the decisions that went into this. That was, here's the recommendation, we get caught up. This is kind of the standard operating procedure we follow in other instances. If there are instances that color outside of that, then it's perfectly valid to take them into consideration when you make these decisions like you do every year. But it just keep reconveying that it's the county's fee schedule. This isn't a mandate. There are some things that are mandated that we have to collect. It's not necessarily one of them at that price point.
All right. Well, at this point, we have a motion and we have a second. And unless there is going to be an amendment, either friendly or unfriendly, to make some adjustment to this at this point, if this would pass, it would be in effect until we next consider a fee schedule. And we do have time then to consider whether we want to change any of the sequence of this. So I'm going to allow a couple more comments and then I'm going to call a question. Go ahead.
One quick question. So there's a county fee and a state fee, correct?
The state charges licensing fees. We are allowed to charge registration fees within a parameter.
Is there a yearly
Yes.
charge from the state?
The state charges a yearly charge for their license, and our registration is a yearly registration.
And there's a compliance fee, correct, from the state?
I don't know, the
PCA,
compliance is
right.
on us.
Okay, because I'm thinking about feedlots. State feedlots, county feedlots, they all have fees. And you get a normal feedlot, state feedlot, you're paying $2,500 to $5,000 a year for your fees. Now you're looking at these cannabis sites, and maybe they're turning $1 million a year, maybe, I don't know. But value, your dollars are relatively, your dollars are a little bit less here for the value.
I think these are all the points that when we discuss this next, we're going to want to have those. We're going to want to think about those things. That's why we have discussion here. Any other comments at this point?
One question, these are the highest fees that we can go.
So unless state statute changes, we would never be able to increase that registration fee, initial or renewal, when the state statute changes.
All right. We have a motion and we have a second on the table, and we've had robust discussion. I'm going to call the question. This is for the fee schedule and the resolution. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
We need to take a roll call.
Commissioner Christopherson,
Yes.
Commissioner Herga,
No.
Commissioner McGrath,
Yes.
Commissioner Krause,
Yes.
Commissioner Walter.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-1.
All right. Thanks. That was good, robust discussion, and we'll have more when we reconsider the fee schedule next. All right, thank you. Next, a public hearing to consider a request for a conditional use permit to engage in cannabis cultivation on PID 02, 036, 020.
And thank you, Commissioner Harveth, for noticing that error on the first page. Before you is a request to consider approving a conditional use permit for cultivation of cannabis. This parcel, they're actually, first off, the applicant is here, Elijah Gist, and I'll never say it correctly, Gist? Yes. And is here to answer any questions that you may have. They will be utilizing a hoop building for a greenhouse to grow on a corner of their property. And the Planning Commission did hold a public hearing on July 9th and made a motion to approve the conditional use permit with the conditions that are presented to you today, and to move this request forward to the county board with a recommendation of approval. And do you have any questions for me today?
Any questions from the commissioners for Tina? Not seeing or hearing any, then we will move into a public hearing at 10:45. And I would ask if there's any public comment, and I would invite Elijah Gist to come on up if he's got any comments for us, or
No comment.
no? Okay, that's fine too. Any other public comment from the room? Do we have anybody online?
That looks intended to speak.
Okay. Final time, public comment? Hearing none, I would look for a motion to close public comment.
So look for Rosie.
And I would look for
Second.
motion by Commissioner Krause, second by Commissioner Christopherson. All in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right. Then we go on to the conditional use permit. And we have, I know at the planning commission, that's usually done in 2 phases. One, the accepting the conditions, and then
Yes,
accepting the conditional use permit.
spelled out in the findings of fact that are also attached. We had very robust conversation amongst the planning commissioners, and so they did approve the criteria for approval for the conditional use permit, as well as the conditions that are being placed upon it. These are the conditions right here in the attachment A. And we have kind of come together with a standard set of conditions as defined in our current UDC. As I mentioned, we will be bringing forth to you a new code in the October timeframe.
Okay. So, I think I'm going to look first for a motion to findings or conditions. Findings.
Findings.
I'm going to look for a motion to accept the findings of fact that have been presented to us.
So moved by Krause.
Second by Milbrow.
Motion by Commissioner Krause, second by Commissioner Milbrow. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right, then, we've accepted the findings. Next, we would want to approve the conditional use permit with the conditions, if that is the will of the board. So that's what I would be looking for a motion for the permit with the conditions.
Make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Melbeth, second by Commissioner Christopherson. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right, there we go.
What, we'll get like an actual paper copy.
Yeah. I'll give you an email notice of decision.
We're done.
We're done.
Relatively painless. All right, at this point, we will move on to action item number F. And I have personal stake in this, so I'm going to turn the meeting over to Commissioner Kelsey.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. Moving on. We will, let's see. Public hearing to consider amendment to the Waseca County zoning map and comprehensive land use map as requested for PID number 12-007-0500, changing the zoning district from urban expansion district to A1A protection district and to adopt ordinance 169 authorizing the same. Tina, please.
So, thank you.
It's a mouthful.
So back in 2009, when the county adopted their zoning districts with that particular set of the Unified Development Code, this particular parcel of land was changed from ag to urban expansion zoning. And the thought process, the applicant, through conversation with the applicant, the thought process, originally they thought there would be more development towards that end on the northwest corner of the city, that potentially their property could be further developed. But since 2009 to the current date, it has continued to be farmed. It has been continued to be used as an ag. As you know, that the city has focused their development efforts down into the southwest quarter of their city based on water tower and I&I and things like that they've been working on their system. So with this request received from the applicants, Carl Boozy and his wife Shannon, and then Dee and Tim Walter, who are the owners of this property, are requesting that the zone be changed back to the A1 protection district. We did notify all of the landowners within a half a mile, and we also notified and had conversations with the city of Waseca. We received no objections from any of the surrounding landowners, and the city of Waseca said they had no concerns about this particular rezone. So the Waseca County Planning Commission held a public hearing on July 9th. And again, we had no negative or objecting comments were received at that time. The Planning Commission reviewed and approved the criteria and made a motion to send this request to the county board with a recommendation of approval. And so you will find for you findings of fact and an ordinance. In order to do a rezone, it is accomplished through an ordinance. And I'm happy to stand for any questions.
Is there any questions from commissioners or Tina?
Well, I believe that I have seen this piece of property, but it wasn't in our packet.
A map of it. There should be a map if you keep
There's a one in the packet.
Is there one? I didn't scroll down far enough.
I didn't see one.
No.
Oh, no,
Okay.
I didn't see one.
Okay, that's, my fault. I'm wondering if,
It's 31.33 acres.
It's just north of town right over here.
Yeah, I think I have.
it's across from the, there's a park on the city side. There's the county road, half of it's city, half of it's county. And, I thought it was attached to the ordinance, a copy of the map attached to the ordinance should be in there. But I put it there.
Slide that, but this one here. Yeah. That's not 100%. So. One quick question, just. What's is there some property tax advantages to being A1?
You know, I haven't asked that question. I did I did send an email to Brock to let him know we were doing a rezone on this. He didn't say anything. I think it's about keeping it consistent with ag uses versus urban expansion. There are different restrictions and guidelines for either zone.
And if 30 years down the road, I mean, it can be converted back, right? If all of a sudden
yeah.
expansion came
Yeah.
in that direction.
The last rezone, the records that I could find was with the James Brothers construction. There was like a maintenance shop, was in urban expansion, and it got rezoned back to ag. It's just kind of up and around the corner here. Yeah. So was part of that area. And the city's been concentrating going east. And the water tower that they're considering is in the southwest corner of the city that will serve that industrial area. And as you know, there hasn't been a whole lot of subdivision or residential activity happening in that part. I will say that there is a new subdivision called Deer Path Enclave that's going into that Christ the Church property. I spoke directly with Mayor Zimmerman and he had no objections to this. He's the developer for that Deer Path Enclave.
Okay, just any more questions? All right, so if there's no more questions, it is 10:56 and we will move into public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak in the public hearing? Anyone? Anyone? Then I would look for a motion to close the public hearing.
So move.
Second, Milbrath.
First by Christopherson, second by Milbrath. Any discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. Public hearing is closed, and then we will move. Finding of fact, Tina? Okay. Then I would look for a motion to approve the finding of fact. And a second.
I would move the finding of fact.
Second, Margaret.
Okay. Christopherson, second by Hargith. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Finding of fact is approved. Then we will look at the ordinance 169. That I would be looking for a motion to approve ordinance 169.
I'll make that motion to approve ordinance 169.
First by Commissioner Milbrath.
Second.
The second by Christopherson. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
noted of her.
Yes.
You haven't already.
It's written on the actual ordinance document also that Commissioner right there, Commissioner Malter, represents yourself.
All right. Then I will welcome back the chair. Commissioner Salter.
Thank you. Covering the bases.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Yeah, did it without you for
Okay, you did awesome. All right, next, we will move on to, resolution 2026-25, authorization to conduct off-site gambling.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I'll get through this one on behalf of Ms. Spooner. This is something you've already seen. The association discovered that they had a date wrong, so they had to resubmit that. And this is simply a revision to acknowledge that change dates and copy the request that was there previously, but authorization to conduct offsite gambling.
So just to clarify, this is really correcting a date.
That's correct.
Okay, perfect. Then I would, unless there's questions for Michael, I would put the motion. Motion by Commissioner Krause, second by Commissioner Hargit. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you. All right, then on to H. Resolution 2026-26.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. So I have, this is just a continuance of our little policy project that I've been doing for the last probably year or so. So today I have the data practices policies that we are required to review annually, as well as IT policies that some of them are new and some of them have been just revised. I do have Jenny Heller here who helped put together these policies. And so she's here if you have any questions regarding any of those. Attorney Mariah Nickel, she's the one that reviewed all the data practices policies. And with that, if there's any questions regarding them, I'd look for adoption or the approval of resolution 2026. Am I saying that backwards? Yeah.
Yes.
I did say that backwards. Approving the policies.
Thank you, Melissa, and thanks for all your work on this. Yes, questions? So,
I just had a quick question.
we can take a question for staff before we go into discussion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not.
Doesn't matter whether he's okay with it. I'm okay with it.
Okay.
Yeah, you're out.
I'm just looking that way. I'm just. When you put all these policies together, so you get feedback from MCIT and then from AMC and.
From whichever resource is probably more relevant.
Okay.
Or, yeah.
So you could, staff combines, not combines them, but puts policies together. Right. Yeah.
Correct.
Are you asking?
For example, like for IT,
Maybe, I can ask her, I'm looking at you again. Yes.
for example, for like IT, they compiled the policies based on best practices, statutes. I don't know if there's some more you could speak to, BCA requirements, all that then they bring it to me.
Everything gets covered, nothing gets left out.
Correct. Then they bring it to me. I kind of do my little formatting and just approving and running it by administration. And then that's when it comes to you.
Because there's got to be a lot.
There is a lot.
Very rarely are we starting from scratch. We're utilizing all of those resources you just mentioned and then making sure it has the particular Waseca County flavor to it in terms of formatting and addressing the county specific needs there. And there's a lot of information out there that has to be pulled together.
There's a lot of checks and balances.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a lot to go through.
Question for staff.
Question. Couple terms. Check. Rooted and jailbroken. What does that refer to? I don't know those terms. It says not to be rooted or jailbroken on personal owned devices, and it has on county owned devices. I don't know
Which policies?
It's on page 101. 102, I apologize, 102. That's personally owned mobile devices.
That could be a spell check, which we did find a few spell checks.
Well, there, it's listed under personally owned and under county owned mobile devices, so I don't know what those terms mean.
Well, there's a way that people can go into cell phones and break them, damage them, change the operating system on them, that type of thing, and that's probably what that is referring to.
Okay.
Both of them refer to when the original software is tampered or deviated from in some way, shape, or form.
Okay. I've just never heard those terms before, that's why I was asking.
Thank you for asking that clarifying question. Other questions for staff? All right. Then, I too reviewed these and went, huh? Oh, and it was more than just the English stuff, because you know how I do that. So, there are just a few, like, non-public with a hyphen or without a hyphen, or is it non-public or not public? And there was not consistency, and so I have requested staff go through and just like uniform that. So at this point, I would be looking for a motion to accept these with those minor language corrections, just to gain uniformity.
I have one question that ties into the sheriff's office, Jay. With your policies that you have, do these kind of, you guys match them up a little bit?
Yes, I'm also comparing it to the Lexapro and all those policies.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Any other questions? Then I would look for a motion to accept these policies and guidelines with minor language corrections that are in process.
I'll make that motion.
So I'll second it.
Okay,
And we're moving resolution 2026-27.
we are moving, yes, and that's to accept these policies and guidelines. So resolution 2026-26, we have a motion by Commissioner Mildred, second by Commissioner Christopherson. Any other further discussion or questions? Go ahead.
I can say concern.
Go ahead.
When I'm looking at the IT budget, looking at all this, it's a real concern of mine that this is gonna get unsustainable at some time. The amount of resources that have to go in to our IT to keep us from being hacked or being fraudulently used, or it's not gonna get better. And we're seeing this increase, and we're seeing people handcuff us, Microsoft, with fees that we can't control. I don't know where the end is, but it's a real concern of mine.
I don't disagree. All right, we have a motion and we have a second. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, then we are on to action item I. This is to authorize staff to pursue scale of surplus lands among the
Solid waste.
solid waste. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks,
Yeah,
Madam Chair.
so-
So this in and of itself isn't finalizing anything. It's just requesting authorization. So we're clear and transparent with what we're trying to pursue. And there's a couple of attachments you can reference as well too that Mr. Kolar was kind enough to put together. So this is as the intent of the action item states, looking to sell off a portion of unutilized or underutilized land around the solid waste facility. I asked Jim to kind of look in his crystal ball as best he can over the next decade plus and just kind of determine if we are to expand the footprint of the solid waste facility, what might that look like? What land might we need to retain to accommodate for that expansion or sprawl? And it seems pretty clear that outside of a full kind of green space rebuild, we got what we got. There's some possibility of expanding our tipping floor to the north and rerouting some traffic, but all of that could be done within the footprint that we are working in or that is suggested on some of the attachments. So the county's been amidst a multi-year conversation of selling off some of those surplus lands and properties. And this isn't any different than that, but where there is one deviation is that as we have continued to discuss potential acquisition of a property south of town, Waseca here, this is a potential funding vehicle for that. It also is a capital investment process for the solid waste facility. We know that we will have some rather large costs to incur in a baler and a scale in the not too distant future, roughly $500,000 or so between the two. And part of the sale of this property would be reserving funds for the replacement of those to avoid having to have additional levy burden from that perspective as well. So we have had a preliminary conversation Jim has with Jones Hopkins Smith to come out and do some survey work on this property after your authorization here today, if you so choose to do that. So what you would see mocked up may not be exactly as is. This is just kind of staff's best effort of what it should look like in that instance. There's no map.
No.
That sucks.
What's not parcel value?
That's the technical term. All right, pull it up.
Jim did all that?
I know. 203.
I'll take one.
It is good you have wide shoulders, buddy.
Somebody try to find me.
The way we pick on you.
No lunch for Jim, no lunch.
It's not your fault. We're just playing.
You can serve it.
All right, I will send these to you in addition, but all this really seeks to capture is the minimum acreage that we would want to retain, which is what you're looking at here. And then the current parcel layouts, the county owns these 3 parcels in their entirety, and we have plans for all of them. But just kind of overlaying those 2. Just want to switch back. That being the total footprint, this being what is anticipated to roughly be the remnant or what we retain ownership of. So we would need some guidance from Jones Hopkins Smith is what does this look like in terms of legal description and then subdivision process and combination process for us. So the bulk of what would be sold is kind of the tillable here, here, here. So roughly 200 acres that would be anticipated to be sold, of which about 125 to 30 are tillable.
And that's considered part up there, that little narrow piece, correct?
This is a separate parcel in and of itself.
And we'd be selling that as well, right?
We would be selling it either as part of this process or a separate process, yes. This is one we tried to sell in the past as an irregular parcel. There were some interesting conversations with the neighbor. We held off at that point in time. But yes, the intent would be to sell off this parcel as either part or a byproduct of this process, yes.
And you need a motion for us to move forward.
I'm just looking for a motion to authorize staff to continue to explore this process. We still would have to come back to you to say, this is what this looks like now. We'd like to advertise it. And then come back to you again to authorize that sale after that bid process happens.
I'll make that motion.
All right.
Second by Cross.
Motion by Commissioner Melbra, second by Commissioner Krause. Any further discussion?
When this comes back to us, I guess I would like to see, with this other purchase of ground, how that's gonna benefit the county, possible revenue.
Yep.
Cause the money is good to sell, but then the money runs out, where when you're renting the property, you're getting money every year. So, I'm intrigued by the investment closer to town and possibly increasing tax base by some way, shape or form. But I guess I'd like to see those kind of numbers when it comes back.
Sure. Absolutely.
Other questions or comments? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right. We are getting down, that was our last action item. We are into the administrative update. And we also have, I don't know what the weather looks like outside, but I know that Beth is anxious to get out of here and we need to be ready to serve our employees here. So, we're gonna move into administrative update. We're gonna do human resources announcements, our community development update. We got emailed, so we're not gonna spend any time on that. And I am telling you now, we are gonna go commissioner reports so that we can get up there. Sorry, we gotta serve our people this morning. That's the thing. So, Michael, I'm turning it over to you.
I am happy to forego any additional updates, but I will be happy to answer any questions should you have some or some additional homework for me. Otherwise, we can go by HR announcements as part of that.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for?
Madam Chair, just quickly, and I don't, this could roll right into HR also, have we, from what I see, what we're recruiting or looking for, are we still talking about media relations and finance officer? Are we still, is that still, we're not actively seeking, or that position has not been written?
The finance manager has been posted, that is something that I've had on there.
Okay.
So that right now we are currently.
Okay. I thought I saw it before and I didn't see it. Okay.
Yes, I think, 20th maybe in July. Okay. The finance manager got posted. We don't have anything posted specifically for media relations now. We are having some conversations of what that could look like, but not a separate position.
Thank you.
Then, for personnel, we've got some things being recruited for here and we just want to make sure we recognize staff who are having 0 and 5 anniversaries. Travis Wapshaw has been recycling lead for 10 years and Joe Barkanick has been our sign technician for 5 years. And otherwise we've got folks that we thank for their service, some for a long time and some for not very long, but we're glad they're part of the Waseca community team. All right. With that, I would look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Krause.
Motion by Commissioner Krause. Second by Commissioner Christopherson. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. I didn't think so. All right, let's get ready to go.